Saturday ends here in the States. Over in Japan, it's race day. 26 stars of IndyCar have traveled to Twin Ring Motegi for a final race at this venue. But perhaps they've saved the best for last, because with 3 races to go, the championship points race is the tightest it's been since early June, with Will Power only 5 points out. After much strife and heartache this season, the last 2 races have seen Will Power begin to take back the championship reins and is poised to be.
It's a beautiful day for a drive-through wine country.
Will Power to victory here at Infineon Raceway. The green flag for the inaugural Baltimore Grand Prix waves, and for Will Power, his dream of winning another race in the battle for the championship has come true. Heading into the final road course race of the year, Power sits only 5 points behind his rival, Dario Franchitti. Welcome to IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Verizon, where we're less than 40 minutes from the start of today's race. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Jan Beekes, Wally Donoback, and Robin Miller in our Indianapolis studios. Twin Ring Motegi, about 65 miles north of Tokyo, was opened in 1997. Open wheel racing started here in '98. But today marks the end of an era, as IndyCar announced last year this would be the final race at Motegi. Originally, this race, like all past open wheel races at Twin Ring Motegi, was scheduled to be a 200-lap oval race. But the context of this event, as well as life in much of Japan, changed on March the 11th of this year when a massive earthquake shook the country. The epicenter of the 8.9 quake was off the eastern coast of Japan, a little more than 100 miles from Motegi. The mile-and-a-half oval sustained damage that could not be repaired for this date, so the race was moved to the road course at this facility. Teams arrived here early in the week. They practiced on Friday and qualified on Saturday and will race today. Kevin Lee is in Japan. Kevin, what has been the atmosphere there?
It's been fantastic. The fans have been here all week since Friday. They're lined up here watching the drivers make their way around the course for the parade. They know the drivers. They're very fanatical about IndyCar. It's been hot. It's been muggy. Upper 90s. It stayed dry. We have experienced a couple of earthquakes since we've arrived on Wednesday, and for many of us, that's the first time that's been the case. Leading up to this event, Danica Patrick expressed some concerns about making the trip over here, but the general consensus among the drivers is they're happy they came, they're happy to be here, and do whatever they can to support Japan.
Everyone from Japan would do everything what is possible to make the safe of the league and the drivers and the fans, so I had no concern at all.
You can read into it as much as you want to, and you know, for me, it was a tough decision, I'm sure, for many, and obviously for the league, whether it's the right time to come or if it's morally right to put on an event. But you know, I love coming here. The fans are fantastic. You know, they're really great people. They're very loyal, very loving, at least, and you know, it's probably the only place where you get to go home with a bag of you know, presents and things like that. But no, I love coming here, and you know, so far it's been fantastic.
You know, they're going through a tough time right now, so if we can make their lives a little bit better by bringing the race here, that's what we need to do.
I also talked to quite a few drivers off camera, off the record, wanted to get as raw and as pure an answer as I could, and the answers ranged from mildly concerned to no concerns at all. But no one I spoke to, driver, crew member, anyone here, has said we shouldn't be here. They all want to be here to do everything they can to support Japan, and they love this event. I admit I had some trepidation about a 12-hour flight, but I am really glad that I made the trip. It has been a fantastic experience and one that I'll never forget. Bob?
All right, Kevin, look forward to your reports. As mentioned, with Will Power's back-to-back wins, he has closed within 5 points of Dario Franchitti in the title race. We'll talk to both of them when we return.
IndyCar Central on Versus is presented by Verizon, official wireless partner of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the Indy Japan 300 on the road course at Twin Ring Motegi. Well, qualifying was held yesterday, and here are the highlights.
Bob, of course, qualifying was very important when you look at the championship contenders. Dario Franchitti, Will Power. They knew they had to put everything out on the racetrack. People like J.R. Hildebrand getting everything out of the car on a slick racetrack. Marco Andretti across the sand, but he was able to transfer. The big news was this. Dario Franchitti was not able to make it into the Firestone Fast 6. That was his hot lap. He went by James Jakes as he had gone off, and this was the lap that Dario needed. He gave it everything he could up until the start-finish line, but no, Dario Franchitti qualifies 9th. Not what he and Chip Ganassi wanted when they're trying to defend the championship. Now we're in the Firestone Fast 6. Graham Rahal, of course, a teammate to Dario Franchitti, put on a good lap. But here, it looked like Will Power had a shot at the pole position, but that was turn 11. He overcooks it. It's only 3 corners from the end, and he gave away a couple of tenths of a second. He stood on it down to the line, but it wasn't enough. Scott Dixon gets the pole position. What a fantastic run for Scott Dixon. He gets the congratulations and takes that pole position point away from, guess who? Will Power. He was so close.
So Dixon and Power will share the front row. Graham Rahal, Ryan Briscoe in row 2, James Hinchcliffe and Helio Castroneves in the 3rd row. And then Charlie Kimball and James Jakes back in the 4th row. Dario Franchitti will start 9th. Sato will go from 11th. Oriol Servia back in 16th. And Tony Kanaan from way back in the 25th starting position. Dixon is keeping his title hopes alive, and Kevin is with him.
Scott Dixon won his 2nd pole of the season yesterday, 17th of his career. Difficult to pass here, so how important was it to get the points?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think if we could take the point away from Will, it's a big deal for the team in general, and obviously for Dario. And maybe I can pull myself back into this championship. We're still not out of it, but we're a little ways back. But, you know, it's always nice to start up front. You know, today is going to be pretty difficult, I think, strategy-wise. You know, the pit windows are very tight. You have to save quite a bit of fuel, so it's going to be an interesting day to see if people mix it up. But it's always nice to get on pole, and especially for the last time here in Japan, it felt pretty special.
It's got to be tough to leave home right after Poppy becomes a big sister. Tilly was born over the weekend.
Yeah, you know, I've got to say hi to my wife and everybody back at home. You know, it was difficult to come away, and Tilly's going to be in the NICU probably for a week or 2 here. So, you know, hopefully, you know, fingers crossed everything goes well, and she'll be back at home pretty soon. But, yeah, just excited. You know, father of 2 now. I wouldn't have thought that probably 3 or 4 years ago. But, no, it's exciting, and, you know, love every bit of it.
He's got a lot of responsibilities, and one of them today is leading the field to the green here in Japan.
Thank you, Kevin. Will Power has 6 wins this year, including the last 2 on the permanent road course at Infineon Raceway and the temporary street circuit in downtown Baltimore.
Father Bob. Past is the past, you know?
It has been the Will Power Show since the drop of the green flag. The point spread now is just 26.
Best weekend you could ever have. Back on top again.
We are racing in the Baltimore Grand Prix. Here comes Power to the inside. That was awesome. He knows every single lap before he pits right now is the difference between winning and losing.
Go, 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 go. Go.
Looks like Power is going to be able to hang on to the advantage.
Will Power wins the inaugural Baltimore Grand Prix.
Oh, man, that was the toughest race I've done all year. I just gave it absolutely everything I had. Everything.
And Will Power has charged from 62 points back in the championship a few weeks ago, now to within 5. Did you ever think that you might be out of it?
No. Till you're mathematically out of it, you don't. And, you know, if you look at the past, it's always been a close race at the end, and, you know, people had a massive lead with 4 to go and close the gap. So we were confident that, you know, we'd have a couple of good runs.
You've dealt with some bad luck this season. It's not like you guys have been out to lunch with setups or anything, but now at this point, do you feel like you and the team are in a real groove?
We're in a groove. We're in a normal groove, you know. We've had some bad runs. When people take you out, it's something you can't control, you know, and just a couple of other calls and so on, you know, things that have happened. I mean, there's just stuff that you can't control. You know, at the moment, we're just focusing on what we can control, and we're always putting ourselves in that position to get a good result.
The last 2 races of the season are on ovals, and I think you're better on the ovals than people have given you credit for, and you have now won a race. But that said, Is it important to come out of here with the lead in the points?
Yeah, I think every race is important from here on. Mile-and-a-half ovals is my strength. I think if I had to pick an oval, Kentucky and Vegas are probably two good ovals for me. So, yeah, we're just going full steam ahead.
What do you think about this first turn with Dixon? How do you think he'll approach that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty friendly for double wide restarts. You can go too wide around there, and there's a lot of room here. So we'll just see. If we get a good start, we'll see what we can do. If not, we'll fall in behind.
Will Power is within 5 of Franchitti in the championship. He starts second today.
And after Milwaukee, Dario and Will were tied. After Toronto, Will was 55 behind. But with 3 wins, Will Power has closed that advantage to just 5 points. Dario with a 5-point advantage as we head into this event. Mathematically, there are still 4 drivers eligible for the championship, but realistically, only Franchitti and Power. Dixon and Serbia 77 and 140 points behind, respectively. Tony Kanaan and Ryan Briscoe separated by 12 points for 5th, and just 21 markers separate 7 through 10. Kevin is with the 3-time defending series champion.
Franchitti will start 9th today. Let's start with this. What happened in qualifying?
I just screwed it up. I didn't put a lap together and left it to the last lap and made another mistake on the last lap. So, yeah, not one of the worst qualifying sessions I can remember in a long time for me. I just didn't do a good job. So put us behind a little bit. It's going to be tough to pass here today. Target cars are good. All 4 Ganassi cars are actually very strong, but starting from 9th is going to make things a bit interesting.
As you said, it's tough to pass. It's a tight fuel window, so what is the game plan?
Yeah, we're still working on that because that is really, you've hit the nail on the head there. So we'll just have to see what we can do. We made some passes in warm-up. See if we can do the same again in the race.
This might be our last time here. You've been coming here many years. What do you love about this place?
You know, I thought this was one of, if not the best oval we raced on. Certainly the best 1.5 mile. It's so much character and puts on such good racing. So I'm disappointed that we're not running on that. Particularly as there's nothing wrong with it. We were told there was all these problems and all these cracks, and you know there was a difference in the height. It's exactly the same as it was last year. So a little disappointed with that, but the road course is very challenging, and you know, I'll tell you what I will miss. I'll miss the fans because they're so passionate about this, and you know they've had a really hard time over here, and here they come again in massive numbers to support IndyCar, and yeah, I'm sad not to be coming back. And obviously with a Honda connection, I've raced for Honda for a long time, and made a lot of friends over here. So I hope we can come back at some point.
Dario Franchitti has a 5-point lead in the championship. Today he has to start from 9th. Bob?
He is first in overall points, but finds himself 14 behind Power in the battle for the Mario Andretti road course title, which will be decided today. That reflects the best overall record on the 10 non-oval events during the 2011 season. Takuma Sato is the one full-time Japanese driver in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Takuma and his family were out of the country when the earthquake hit, but Takuma has found ways through his sport to give back to victims of the March 11th tragedy. That story when we return to our live coverage of the Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. For the better part of the 2011 IZOD IndyCar season, we've seen a smile on the face of Japanese driver Takuma Sato, and for good reason. In only his second year with the series, Takuma has captured 2 poles, led his first laps, and recorded 3 top 5 finishes. But it's all been bittersweet for Sato, who watched his country suffer through the massive earthquake and tsunami that hit his homeland last March. Earlier this week, Takuma gave great delight to hundreds of local fans during an autograph session held at the racetrack. But moments after the quake struck Japan, Takuma began his With You Japan program. Through it, he raises money for relief efforts and also visits school children in the United States to pick up messages of hope that are delivered to children in Japan.
As you know by now, to your west, across the Pacific, the nation of Japan has suffered a colossal, historic earthquake that has caused massive damage, massive loss of life, and sent ocean waters racing over land. The loss of life, officially listed as hundreds, no doubt goes into the thousands as thousands are missing.
11th of March I was traveling, and when I got to the US, I obviously got thousands of texts and emails and phones ringing, and obviously all the airport is all news, and it was shocking. Firstly, just couldn't believe what happened. I know we've been having a lot of earthquakes, but I was, no doubt about it, was the biggest, we ever had. And because it's nowadays, you can go through all the streaming, all the multimedia, that you can get the image straight away. That I couldn't believe the damage of the devastated area. Just in my heart was so shocked. Almost immediately, every single person thought, want to do something, wanted to help. I was just one of them too. I just couldn't do, just standing or sitting alone, do nothing. That was unacceptable to me. I immediately made a phone call to the team that I want to get some message on my iPod, pray for Japan. I want to support the children, particularly the children who lost their families. The reason is that racing is such an excitement environment. That's really got me when I was 10, and that's why I'm standing here. So getting some excitement, to converting some energy to support the children, just I want to see their smile. I want them to have a hope, dream, and all the things. How can I help? The financial support is, yes, important, but I think children can help children. We try to become the bridge of the children who in the United States may be writing a letter or making some artwork or some message, then I can bring to Japan and they can communicate. Baseball? Football? Yeah, baseball. Baseball fans. For us in Japan, the Major League is big. It's really big, yeah. It's everyone's dream. They give me a great dream and hope. And that's I feel I need to do it, give them back. It was obviously heartbreaking what happened, but it's so heartful when you see the children really tear in their eyes and they are truly thinking of the other children who are suffering, who never met before. Hopefully it's made a small lift up, for the Japan.
Sato is back home here in Japan. How emotional is it, considering everything that's happened in the last 6 months, to be back home and racing in front of your home country?
It's a mixture of the both, really. It's a really pleasure to coming back to Motegi, and very exciting and really emotional to have race here. But at the same time, obviously, what happened to the 11th March is a lot of people suffering, and still it is. So it is important to have a race here, but it's a mixture of the both.
And there was some talk for a while that we might not have this event. Why do we need to have it? What does it do for the people of Japan?
Yeah, once they were going to cancel the event because of the damage of the oval and all the venues was being damaged. But a lot of people supported, to have IndyCar race here, which is very, very warm welcome. And they converted to oval to the road course, which is, it's not an easy job, but it's a fantastic effort. And look at the fans. They really wanted to see us. And particularly what happened to the after disaster, we need something put energy here. And IndyCar is such an exciting event, and I'm very, very happy, very motivated to come to here to have a great race.
Takuma Sato is certainly the fan favorite here today. Look at these fans that are out and ready to follow him wherever he goes here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Certainly it appears that Takuma is a rock star in Japan. Everybody wants his autograph. Well, all of us here at Versus and back in the United States are thinking today about the victims of that massive devastation not seen in Japan since World War II. And we're also thinking about the undying support among the Japanese people. We'll come back with more just before the start of today's Indy Japan 300.
IndyCar Central on Versus is presented by Verizon, official wireless partner of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
Plenty of history history here at Motegi. Former winners include Adrian Fernandez. He won in '98 and in '99. 2000, Michael Andretti drives to victory lane at Motegi. In 2002, the winner was Bruno Junqueira for Target Chip Ganassi. In 2004 and in 2005, Dan Weldon won for the first time with Honda. 2006, Elio Castroneves. He also won last year. In 2007, Tony Kanaan took his car to victory lane. And we all, of course, remember 2008 when Danica Patrick won her first and only race. And in 2009, Scott Dixon was the winner. He has the pole position for today's event. Start of the 16th race of the series is about 15 minutes away. Danica Patrick has drawn the ire of several Brazilian drivers from a quote last week at the nationwide race in Richmond, saying that she didn't start her career like a Brazilian driver and go out and hit everything and then figure it out later. Her quote continued with more comments saying that I started out much more patient with other drivers and patient with myself. Well, Tony Kanaan responded in a Twitter post saying she didn't start like a Brazilian because she's not capable of such a thing and never will be. He says, I think I'll start like a Brazilian this weekend. He'll get his chance from the 25th starting position. So, Kevin, what's the latest, if there is any, on the squabble between these two?
Bob, those comments created quite a stir here and in the IndyCar community. In her Friday press conference, I asked her if she wanted to clarify those comments or if there's anything she wanted to add. She said, quote, I don't recall that, and I don't know what you're talking about. We made requests yesterday and today to talk with her on camera after she had had a chance to review the quotes. She declined. Tony Kanaan, when I asked him yesterday for more reaction to the story, smiled and said, I stand by my comments on Twitter. I have nothing more to add. By the way, Danica starts right in front of Kanaan today.
That will be interesting. Dan, of course, has only 3 more races in the series before joining NASCAR full-time next year. As you can see, drivers are in their cars and getting set to go. The command to start the engines is just moments away. Thanks for joining us for IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Verizon. We have 63 laps of racing coming up on the 2.9-mile road course coming up from Motegi. And hopefully, by now, for the drivers and everyone, the jet lag is over.
Say good morning when it's midnight, going out of my head alone in this bed. I wake up to your sunset and it's driving me mad. I missed you so bad and my heart is so jet lagged. Heart is so jet lagged. It's so jet lagged. It's so jet lagged.
Hello. For the final time, the Izod IndyCar Series is set to race at Twin Ring Motegi, this time on the 2.9-mile road course. Welcome to live coverage here on Versus of the Indy Japan 300. This track, built back in 1997, has a 1.5-mile oval, a 2.9-mile road course, 2 dirt tracks, a go-kart facility, and a world-renowned racing museum. Kart raced here from 98 to 2002, and the Izod IndyCar Series has competed here since then, but on the oval and not on this 2.9-mile road course that we will watch them race on today. And Jan has a closer look at the track.
Bob, you already mentioned that it is just under 3 miles. Interesting, when you look at the oval and the road course, you could run on the road course and the oval at the same time. They share none of the same pavement. In there into turn 5, those highlighted areas, that's where you're on the brakes hard enough for a possible, I say possible, passing zone. A possible here in turn 10. Most of the drivers say if you're going to go for a move right here, turn 11, it's down to first gear, 65 miles an hour after 165-mile-an-hour straightaway. A lot of fast straightaways and 7 places down in first gear, Wally.
Yeah, one thing about this racetrack, you know, normally when you have a lot of practice and qualifying, it rubbers up. And when it rubbers up, you've got a lot of traction. But as we see here in Hinchcliffe, these guys are sliding these cars around. They really didn't rubber up. And we may see some of the fastest laps of this race towards the end because we'll have a lot of running on it, and maybe they'll get some of that rubber down.
Here is the starting lineup. On row number 1, Scott Dixon has the pole position, and Will Power chasing Dario Franchitti in the points, starting in second spot. Graham Rahal and Ryan Briscoe will occupy row number 2. The third row, James Hinchcliffe and Elio Castro-Neves. Back in row number 4, Charlie Kimball and James Jakes.
They both have their best career starting positions, and consider they have each out-qualified a teammate. Kimball has out-qualified Dario Franchitti, and Jakes has out-qualified Sebastian Bourdais.
Franchitti will start in 9th position, and Marco Andretti will go from the 10th spot. Back in row number 6, Takuma Sato and JP De Oliveira. And that is the way you pronounce it. I know there's an R in there, but we asked, and we got the information from the horse's mouth. In the 7th row, EJ Viso and Sebastian Bourdais. Alex Tagliani and Oriol Serbia go from row number 8. Ryan Hunter-Ray and Giorgio Pontano in the 9th row. Back in row number 10, J.R. Hildebrand and Mike Conway. The 11th row, Anna Beatrice and Hideki Muto driving the 17 car this week. Danica Patrick will start 23rd and Vitor Mira 24th. And Tony Kanaan and Simona De Silvestro go from the last row, Wally.
Yeah, we don't normally see Tony back in the last row. These guys had some brake problems. They worked through the issues. They got them fixed after qualifying. We've seen Tony come back, make charges to the front, and like he said, there's only one way to do that. Drive like a Brazilian, and that's what he'll be doing. He'll be fun to watch coming through the field.
It will be interesting to watch him come from the final row of this race. All right, let's talk about the Sunoco pit strategy, Jan.
Well, you heard Dario Franchitti already mention it during his interview, and that is the windows are very small. And I've been pretty liberal on this. 19 to 21, that's even on super fuel save mode. A lot of people, as you can see on the bottom there, if there's no yellow, it could mean a 3-stop race, especially for cars like this. Danica Patrick, those towards the back of the pack, look for 3 stops. But for Dario, Kevin, this is going to be where they have to explore strategies, but there's not too many.
Chip Ganassi calls the strategy for Dario Franchitti. With these tight fuel windows and difficulty in passing, how do you get him to the front?
Well, like you said, with the tight fuel windows, everybody's going to be employing a 2-stop strategy, or at least trying for a 2-stop strategy. Having said that, if there's an early yellow, I think you're going to see a lot of guys flip to a 3-stop strategy, and then you'll see some real racing going on in Katie Bar the Door.
All right, that's Chip Ganassi.
All right, let's check some of our onboard cameras. Here's Danica Patrick starting back in the 23rd position. Hideki Muto also will carry one of our onboard cameras, and he begins from the 22nd position. Watch for that car. It's a little bit different paint scheme on that car than we've seen in the past few races. J.R. Hildebrand carries the National Guard car, starts from 19th spot. The Firestone onboard camera is being carried by Takuma Sato. He starts in the 13th position. We've already documented how much of a hero he is for auto racing fans and for the general population here in Japan. Ryan Briscoe has the IZOD onboard camera. He'll start in the 4th position. And starting on the outside of row number 1, denied the bonus point for taking the pole position, but Will Power will start from the 2nd position with the Verizon onboard camera.
And just watching these onboards, we went from a racetrack that was probably one of the roughest that these guys have run on all year to this place. It looks like glass. Very smooth racetrack.
drivers have described it as being like a billiard table. It's so smooth.
But again, each complains about the fact that it's just been a little slippery out there, and that's something we will watch very, very closely, at least in the opening laps, as it gets rubbered in, so to speak. There's a great overhead shot showing you the oval and how the road course goes outside the oval on the back stretch and then comes around to parallel the front stretch of the oval as the cars get all lined up and get set to go. A Honda pace car driven by Johnny Rutherford has the field behind him, 26 cars strong. 63 laps around this track equates to just less than 188 miles of competition here this afternoon.
Wally, I bet you $10 that Tony Kanon's ahead of Danica by turn 1.
Oh, I wouldn't take that bet. Not on your life. I bet Scott Dixon has found his red shoe he was missing. We'll see what happens going into turn 1.
That comment from Robin Miller that you'll hear from as we go through the race. Now the cars begin to line up down the front straightaway, and the green flag is out. Here we go in the final race from Twin Ring Motegi.
What kind of start was that? I don't think half these guys knew they were starting. It seemed like, and Castroneves off the track.
That's very deep gravel over there, and we've heard that if you go in...
That was very nice.
Elio able to make it through the gravel. We've heard if you go in straight, you're going to be okay. If you get sideways in that gravel, you're done. So let's keep an eye on things. Here is Graham Rahal looking to the inside of Will Power, trying to take second position, as now Scott Dixon has begun to pull away just a little bit from Power and tried to make that move early.
Yeah, Power lost a little ground on Dixon because Power had to run off the racetrack to avoid contact with Dixon, so he lost about 5 car lengths on the leader.
Now, when you saw Castroneves going through that deep sand, as you were talking about, Bob, that sand they have found, as long as you keep going straight and you keep it rolling, it's tough to get through.
As you see, Rahal putting the pressure on Power.
And that is...
Boy, that was really a kind of a
real weird
start.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of guys in the back that weren't even lined up yet.
Yeah, you're right. It looked like that most of them were not even anticipating the green flag to come out, but it has. And Scott Dixon is leading by just about a half a second over Will Power.
Castroneves, he is back to, what, 12th, 13th spot. Boy, he lost a lot of ground. At least he didn't stall over there when he went through the sand, but boy, he lost a lot of ground.
Kimball's again had a great start, Wally.
Yeah.
On board with Will Power chasing down Scott Dixon up ahead.
Bob, what will be interesting here is to see if Will Power and Scott Dixon see what happens as far as how hard they run with the fuel strategy, because they may back off, or will they go like rabbits? Right now, Power's pushing it.
Let's take a look at this restart and see if we can find out a little bit more about what happened.
See what happened at Castroneves here. See him. I think he probably dove to the inside to avoid hitting Briscoe. They kind of got boxed up there. There was like 3 abreast going into turn 1. I think that was just an evasive move, but boy, it cost him on the racetrack.
The guy that really made a nice move there on this start was Charlie Kimball, who's up into 4th spot.
And Castroneves is back in 21st spot.
Wow.
Boy, just riding on this onboard is so smooth. I mean, just the Muto's in.
Hideki Muto in the 17 car in for an early pit stop. Got rid of the black tires and now is on the alternates.
That is one of the strategies if you're on a 3-stop strategy. You want to get rid of those blacks, so you start on them, run a few laps, and now you're going to be obviously destined to a 3-stop race, Kevin.
And it's Hideki Muto's first race in IndyCar this year. He'd been here the last 3 seasons. He's had some success, especially when he was at Andretti Autosport. He does have experience at this track. He raced in the Formula Nippon event here earlier this year. He's been doing Super GT. He is hoping to get back to IndyCar full-time, and he's hoping this is something that can jumpstart him to that path.
This is Briscoe running in 5th position. Franchitti is right behind him, and up ahead is Charlie Kimball. Franchitti has gained 3 positions since the drop of the green. So has Charlie Kimball. Kanaan is up 2, although he is still behind Danica Patrick. Danica is 22nd and Kanaan 23rd. So TK didn't make quite the move that we thought he might. Sebastian Bourdais has also moved up 2, and Pontano up 1. Bourdais moving up to 12th spot, and Pontano is up to 17th. Here once again is a replay of the start. Well, looks like that he and Briscoe got really close there.
Yeah, they went 3 wide. Kimball dove to the inside, and they kind of went 3 wide. And I just think that, see right there?
Yep.
I just think Castroneves just wanted to avoid his teammate, and he was coming in there. He was smoking in there, wasn't he?
But when you keep an eye on Kimball, what a great first turn for him. He went way to the inside aggressively and picked up a bunch of spots. And for a guy, he has really been turning his season around.
There's Castroneves on following Hildebrand, 17th and 18th spot.
Elio way back in the 18th position as we check up front to see what's going on. It's still Scott Dixon leading Willpower. Rahal is running 3rd, then Kimball. And 5th position belongs to Kevin Briscoe. Ryan Briscoe.
The Indy Japan 300 on Versus is brought to you by Izod, the official apparel of the Izod IndyCar Series. Available at Macy's.
Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi for the Indy Japan 300. We have completed 5 of the 63 laps. We're on board with Takuma Sato, who is currently running in 10th position. Up ahead of him is Marco Andretti in 9th. And James Jakes up ahead of Marco. as Tony Kanaan comes in. Now, Kanaan, as we indicated, had not made the move that we thought he might. He started 25th, moved up to 23rd, but now he comes in, gets rid of the blacks, and puts on the alternate tires. So we'll see if that helps Tony Kanaan in his march toward the front of the field. Very narrow pit exit here, and pit entrance also, for that matter. There's Will Power still running second to Scott Dixon. It's Rahal Kimball and Ryan Briscoe running in the 5th position. This is the 7th race in 2011 that Dixon has led, but only the 3rd on a road course. He only led 1 lap at Long Beach.
Little look inside and out. This is the fastest part of the racetrack, 165 miles an hour, then down to 65. In qualifying, people were using first gear, but I would doubt, Wally, when you're trying to save fuel, you'd use as many times. In qualifying, 7 times they go down to first, but when you're saving fuel, a lot of times that means you'll take them in second.
That's right. Yep, and that's what it kind of looks like these guys are doing. I mean, Power is catching Dixon just a little bit each lap.
Interval's about 1.2 seconds right now, and Elio Castroneves, as you know, got off course in turn number 1 and has dropped back to 17th position. And Kevin, they're laid out for him.
Yeah, they have to change their strategy. They started 6th, but that off in turn number 1 puts them near the back. They're not going to change tires. They're coming in off, and they want some clean track to try to make some good lap times right now.
Yeah, I was when I saw those blacks laying out there, I'm like, wow, that's not I don't think that's a good strategy. So I think that was probably a good move to put on the Reds. They've only run 7 laps, so it's not like the tires are hurting at all. But he could sure use a caution.
The speed that these front 2 cars are running, Wally, I'm not so sure that they're saving the kind of fuel they would need to go for that 2-stop strategy. I think they're going out pretty hard. Scott Dixon is driving hard enough to me, judging by these lap times, not far really off of where they qualified, that I think they're going fast and looking for yellow, or they're just going to go ahead and make 3 stops. We know that Will Power found that if he has to, he can drive away from people and make an extra pit stop like he did in Baltimore and still come out in the lead.
Oh, that was close.
Wow.
Ryan Briscoe goes around Charlie Kimball, so Ryan Briscoe is now 4th, Kimball in 5th spot.
That was in turn 11.
Wow,
the
look
one
at
place.
Kimball sliding.
Yeah. Quite a few drivers thought that if you were going to be aggressive and go for it, it'd be in 11. And that was a great example of how aggressive you need to be to do it. As I said, 165, and then he waits, and he just barely, and what in fact, Kimball got on the brakes almost later than what Briscoe did.
That was a great pass. That was pretty nice.
That's an aggressive Charlie Kimball, though. He's really turned things around from where he was earlier in the season. Nice job.
Now he has to worry about Dario Franchitti, who is right behind him.
Which I don't think he's going to worry about. Franchitti is making sure he doesn't get in Franchitti's way. Remember, he's on Ganassi 2, if you want to call it that, and he does not want to hold up Dario Franchitti for the championship.
8 laps completed out of 63 here in Japan. It's Dixon, Power, Rahal, Briscoe, and Kimball, the top 5. The Izod IndyCar Series continues on Versus. Join us in 2 weeks for the Kentucky Indy 300. We'll be back on an oval, and Dario, well, will he have an advantage over Will Power or not? Sunday, October 2nd, coverage begins with the Firestone Indy Light Series, followed by the Kentucky Indy 300 at 2 o'clock Eastern. Just 2 races to go after this one, both on an oval, Kentucky, and then the final race, the World Championships at Las Vegas. Dario Franchitti has been able to get around Charlie Kimball, move Franchitti up to 5th, and Kimball has now lost 2 positions in the last few laps, slipping from 4th to 6th.
Now, the effort that he had to put forward to get by his teammate is going to be much, much different than the effort it's going to be to get by Briscoe.
Yeah, it always hurts when Castroneves goes out like he did, because that's one more jam card they don't have for the team.
Yep. Well, the interval a few laps ago was 1.2 seconds, and then it went down to 0.8 of a second, and now it's up to 1.7 again, the advantage that Dixon has over Will Power. And there are the points as of now, as Will has gone on top of Franchitti by 5 points. We started the race just the other way around, with Franchitti 5 better than Power, but as they run right now, Will has the points lead.
But I think that there's a couple of different things going on at the same time, Bob. Just the way, and we've talked about this before, as hard as Scott Dixon and Will Power are running, I don't think they're running their race strategy the same way that people behind like Franchitti might be. So I do think there could be a couple things going on at once here. Maybe a couple of rabbits are going out there, but we may actually have a couple of things going on at once in the same early lap segment.
And a shot there of Takuma Sato. He is currently in 10th position still. Hasn't moved in the last few laps. By the way, the pictures coming from NTV. Wow. We don't have real control over what you're seeing, except in a few instances. So, of course, they are interested in keeping track of their hometown hero.
Bob, we don't have any control over what Wally says either.
That's very true. It seems like right now with Power here, it seems like his car is loose, because you can hear how he puts the throttle down. He's really laying the throttle down easy coming off the corners. And I believe he's got a rear grip issue right now.
And what some of the drivers were saying is that as the segments go on, the rear tires are wearing faster than the front. So if you started with a car that was pretty well balanced, it would, Wally, start to go loose as the rear tires lose some grip. They don't wear out, they just lose their sweet spot.
Because he's losing ground on Scott Dixon.
Here's Danica Patrick, who is running in 19th position. Simona De Silvestro right now is a driver who has gained the most positions since the start of the race, 5. But Danica, along with Mira and Franchitti, have all gained 4 positions each. So Danica up to 19th.
And you can tell whether someone is in fuel save mode on how the engine sounds just before they brake. And when you heard Danica Patrick there just before she got on the brakes, there was a bit of a coast zone. You heard it just kind of throttle back. So apparently, the way she came down into turn 11, she's on fuel save mode.
And she's also, if you listen to the way she's shifting, she's short shifting. She's not, doesn't sound like she's bringing the R's up as much as like Power was. So when you short shift, you're using less fuel. You're not turning as many RPMs.
So listen to the brakes here. See, just before the brakes, you hear that engine note kind of goes down a little. That's that kind of coast period, and that's one of the big tricks of saving fuel if you're in that strategy.
9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th right here. Marco Andretti running in 9th, then Sato.
And Marco's not on the reds. He's on the blacks, so got a lot of cars behind him that are on the reds.
And Marco was the highest qualifier in 10th to start on the primary tires. And it was interesting. This race is the first time I can remember that it was evenly split at the start of the race.
Michael Andretti, of course, watching to see if he can, if his son can hang in there on the blacks, because that's part of that strategy. Put him on, and he'll be thinking, I need an opportunity to get my son off of those, because today you want to be on the reds.
But he's not. Yeah, we're 13 laps in, so do you go for the pit window, or if these guys get by, do you just duck in and change the tires?
Well, typically, if you went to primaries to start, you would think that means you're going to go with the 3-stop strategy. Kevin?
Not hearing anything from Will Power on the radio as far as how the car is handling, but I can tell you that throughout the weekend, everybody's been talking about rear grip problems. That's been an issue. The general consensus is that it's really tough to put a complete lap together. I think I've heard more complaining on the radio this weekend than most weekends. They love the track, they love the challenge of the track, but it's just very difficult to get a full lap in without making any kind of mistake. And also people have talked about having difficulty getting the power down coming out of the turns.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Well, Will Power continues to chase Scott Dixon. It's a 2.5 advantage that Scott has over Will. Graham Rahal third, Ryan Briscoe fourth, and Dario Franchitti running fifth at Motegi. This year in the Izod IndyCar Series, Will Power is the only driver for Team Penske who has had a win, and Power has won 6 times. But on the bottom line, you see there that Helio Castroneves is the only driver who has not had a DNF this year.
That's pretty hard to believe, isn't it? That's when you start not liking your teammate.
There's the captain, Roger Penske, as he looks on. Still up front, it's Power chasing Scott Dixon.
But Bob, what's happening is that Scott Dixon is starting to slow down, and I think he's slowing down because they're realizing that maybe going out like a rabbit is not the thing to do and getting on a different strategy. He's now starting to back up to Will Power, not necessarily because Will Power is going quicker, but Scott Dixon, if you had to take anyone in the field, is probably the best driver at making fuel, because he drove for quite some time for Toyota when their way of winning races was strictly through fuel economy, and they went and tested day after day after day at Mid-Ohio, places like that, and he is one of the best. And I would say they've realized from the calculations, we were going too fast. We have to back off, save fuel, because if we stop 3 times and they stop twice, we're cooked.
J.R. Hildebrand runs in 17th position. Not much traffic around him. Ryan Hunter-Ray is up ahead of him, but quite a few car lengths. And Mike Conway is behind him. And J.R. Hildebrand is in a torrid battle with James Hinchcliffe for Sunoco Rookie of the Year honors. That battle is as close as the overall championship battle.
J.R. Hildebrand is driving with a broken bone in his right hand, right above his right index finger. He suffered that near the end of the Baltimore race. It's really just an annoyance. It's not having any impact on his weekend.
I wondered about that because he was on my flight coming back from Baltimore, and I noticed his hand was bandaged in his finger, and I asked him what happened as he walked by me, and he said, oh, whoops, we got a car off track.
Pontano.
Giorgio Pontano, but he's going to be able to get back on course. So that sand and gravel slows him down, but they're able to go through it and keep going.
New colors for Pontano. That's Kona Deep, one of Robbie Buell's sponsorships. So Dreyer and Reinbold, and look at that, an aggressive move up the inside of Simona de Silvestro has gone just a little bit wrong.
She was probably hoping he hit her to take out Pork Chop and she'd get another car before the year's over, but sadly, he missed her.
You're referring to the car.
I'm referring to the
Pork
car,
Chop.
yes. I know you like...
Yeah.
Yes, it's an old, nasty car that's been pieced together. It's the oldest Dallara on the field, and it's probably been crashed and rebuilt about 15 times.
Seems like just when you think Power's catching Dixon, Dixon pulls out just a little bit.
Yeah, it's never really been down under a second, except for maybe 10 laps into the race.
And I just have the sense that they are now driving to a number. They're looking on the dash. They're having constant communication with the team, telling them the number that they need to hit.
And I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish they just have enough fuel to go race.
Why can't they?
Well,
why is every series fuel mileage now? NASCAR, IndyCar, everything but sprint cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I just don't understand it. I mean, these guys are driving these fast race cars. They should be able to do it every lap and not worry about saving fuel.
Well, it's just a strategy. They have plenty of fuel. It's not like they're somehow short on fuel. They just know that if you have to make one more pit stop than someone else, you're going to give up a lot more track time than if you drive just a little bit slower. So unfortunately, it's just the mathematics that they've found that if you spend less time on pit road than you do on the racetrack, that's how you win races. And
I hate math.
Well, that's why.
These cars have been running in line for several laps now on board with Takuma Sato. Scott Dixon is the leader of the race. Welcome back to live coverage of the Indy Japan 300 from Twin Ring Motegi. 18 of 63 laps have been completed and pit stops are imminent. We expect Will Power to be in shortly. There's the leader of the race, Scott Dixon, as Will continues to run in second position to him. Graham Rahal now third, then Ryan Briscoe and Dario Franchitti.
And the most important thing, Bob, is that they are just closing in on that window that we talked about. The window opens at 19. You're even safer if you can go to lap 20. And if Scott Dixon peels off here, he does not, nor does Will Power. So that answers the question. They went out fast, then they thought better of it. They slowed down.
Whoops. Well, Takuma Sato, yeah. JP de Oliveira is also, I believe, the one that went off course.
You know, Robin, I learned you don't want to take out the Japanese hero when you're in Japan. I'm speaking from experience, of course.
These 8 cars were running nose to tail for many laps, and De Oliveira decided that he was going to give it a whirl, but it didn't work.
And when they collided, you see it actually knocked the wheel out of his hands. He'll come flying up the inside and pow, right there. You could see his hands did JP. It came right off of the steering wheel in the impact, and they both recovered.
JP's going to need an armed guard to lead the track. Just like Wally at Suzuka a few years ago.
Call me. I got the number.
Tell the people that story.
Oh, it was a cup race when I was in Suzuka, and I happened to take out the Japanese hero with about 4 laps to go. So I wasn't really popular when I was leaving Japan.
Way to go, Wally. What were you thinking? This is Ryan Briscoe running 4th.
Peels off here for pit road, which will be on the left.
Nope.
No, they're not there yet, Bob. Oh. Remember, because there's the road course and then there's Oval. So there we go.
Both, and so is Briscoe.
Both coming on pit load.
All right, let's go down to Kevin Lee.
And we're going to see a lot of activity here the next couple of laps. Tires not out for Will Power or Scott Dixon. We're watching Graham Rahal come in right in front of Ryan Briscoe. Note on Briscoe's car, Rick Reineman is back over the wall, changing the outside front. He's taken back over as the crew chief of that team. Matt Johnson is taking over the Chevy program, developing the car for next year. Great stop for Briscoe. He gets a spot and gets out ahead of Rahal.
Not a good stop for Rahal.
Never is. He always loses spots in the pits.
And De Oliveira is pulling off course.
Maybe out of fuel.
This could bring out a full course caution. Car is just shy of pit entrance.
So what you want is you want to be sure you pit now. You need to get into the pits before they close it. So if you see him stopped, you need to get in. Look at this scramble on pit road, but many people didn't stop. That could cost them if they go yellow.
Simona De Silvestro comes out. So does Elio. There's Vitor Miron, the ABC Supply Company special.
He can't get the fuel hose in. His car's too far away.
Yep.
Wow. That is a huge loss of time. And you know, if you have multiple cars coming in, that's an easy thing to do. Here comes the leader.
And second. Dixon and Power both on pit lane.
And they made it before it went yellow, so they're clean.
Dixon out.
Will Power is in. He's at the front of pit road. Dixon the leader is going to come out. There's a race on pit road, and Dixon is going to just barely squeeze in front of him. And this is a tough area because it funnels down into one lane, so you can't race side by side exiting pit road.
That was close. Now we'll see what Will can do.
Back out too.
See if Will Cal can pass him. Will slides the rear end of the car around, but and now we have the full course caution.
Man, were those guys fortunate, and I have a feeling that race control gave them a break. That they waited. They knew that if they had thrown the yellow, they would have caught out the 2 leaders, and they waited, and that was a good call.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You're 100% right, Jan.
All 11 to the flag stand, waves the double yellow, so the first full course caution of the race comes at lap number 22.
And the car was, you know, the car was in a safe area, so they could go ahead and do that. It wasn't blocking the track.
Right. Homatro's safety vehicle comes to the aid of the new kid in town, JP De Oliveira, who has a lot of experience at this racetrack and had big hopes for his first IZOD IndyCar Series event.
And he was fast from the very first practice, being the reigning Formula Nippon champion, and raced here, in fact, won in his last 2 appearances here, so definitely a circuit specialist.
And he dropped the line, so they're going to have to take that back to him again.
This is good in a way, though, Bob, because every single lap under caution gives you more fuel, gives you an opportunity to do what both Robin Miller and Wally Dahlbeck say they hate, and that is run on fuel numbers. And when you have cautions, you don't have to. So there you go.
Yeah, and you know, when you guys race, the last thing people want to hear on television, a guy say, "Oh, I'm saving fuel." Oh.
Yeah, he locked the right front up, and it just quit turning. Unfortunately, Sato helped him slow down.
But shortly after that, De Oliveira, his car came to a halt just off the racing surface, but it has resulted in the first full course caution of the race. There is Takuma Sato. He is currently running in the 20th position. We're under caution with Scott Dixon still leading here at Japan. The series, it's working its way toward the World Championships in Las Vegas, and our slot machine will tell you where they were in terms of points after each and every race this year. Look at that. After Milwaukee, they were tied in points. We move up through Edmonton, Mid-Ohio, Loudon, Sonoma, the most recent race, Baltimore. There you go, the 5-point separation. And where will they fall after this race here today at Twin Ring Motegi? Well, on this date, September 17th in 1960, they ran the Hoosier 100 for the dirt cars at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. And A.J. Foyt won that one over Tony Bettenhausen and Gene Force. In 1977, the Michigan Grand Prix had Gordon Johncock taking the checkered flag first, with Johnny Rutherford second, and look who finished third.
I had a good run that day, Bob. Thought I had the car to beat.
I think your dad would have an argument with you on that point.
Throw me a bone once in a while, will you? Well, I hope this restart's a lot better than the start, Robin.
Oh, my God. I mean, that made the Indy 500 start look good.
By the way, we saw Vitor Mira and the problem he had on pit lane. A.J. Foyt is not in Japan because he's home. His house and the ranch was very close to the wildfires that were burning in Texas. All is well, we're glad to report, and glad that you are watching A.J. Foyt. A report on James Hinchcliffe. Here is Kevin Lee.
It started out really well for Hinchcliffe today, starting in the 5th position, or at least the track position started well, but it hasn't gone well all day today. He wasn't happy with the car in the warm-up, so he said they took a big swing at it in the race. He lost a few spots in that first stint. He had fallen back to 10th, but then major problems on that pit stop. They dropped a wheel nut, and that lost him 12 positions on track. So Hinchcliffe, who started up front, is now running at the back.
Wow.
Yeah, back in 20th position, and De Oliveira has jumped out of his car.
My Japanese isn't very good, Bob, but I believe there's a bounty on him. He was told to get out of the car, get in a cab, and get the hell out of Dodge and head for the airport.
And he is a fan favorite, actually, or was a fan favorite, I should say, here in Japan, having raced here a lot. And that was part of the reason why he had an opportunity to run an Indy car, because he's run lots of laps here in other series.
And as is the case, as we take a look
at the initial
start. The start of the race, yeah.
And again, Kimball aggressively up the inside, and that checks up Castro Neves behind Briscoe.
That was good. Kimball passed 3 or 4 cars there. That was nice.
Another overhead shot as we see Elio off into the gravel, and Kimball moving up through 4th spot after starting in 8th. Was that Hinchcliffe that locked up the right front, and that's kind of what moved Briscoe out. That angle was a great angle. I didn't notice the smoke off the right front of Hinchcliffe's car. Still under caution. We'll take another break with 24 laps completed. On lap number 25 of 63, Dixon leads Power and Briscoe. Should be going green here in just a moment. The biggest movers so far. Look at this. Tony Kanaan, who started back in 25th, we saw make an early pit stop, has moved up to 7th position, gaining 18 spots since the start of the race. Here comes the restart as the cars line up 2 by 2. Here we go as Scott Dixon takes off toward turn number 1.
Franchitti got into Briscoe.
Yeah. He got into Briscoe, and Briscoe got into
This is points big in the points race here, guys.
Charlie Kimball tries to get back on track.
Well, Dario's still running.
Wow. Briscoe has no power, so we're in a full course caution once again.
Boy, Kanaan's licking his chops right now.
Yeah, he needs a lot. Oh, and Graham Rahal.
Well, Briscoe hit Graham after Franchitti knocked Briscoe out. Yeah, so another good qualifying effort goes for naught.
Just shredded the tires. In fact, I think a lot of that might be pickup, actually, because when you get offline.
Every position important here in the last 3 races of the year, and Will Power has all of a sudden taken a 23-point lead on Dario Franchitti in the championship battle. Here's the replay.
Dario. Yep. And that just starts a domino effect. That's definitely what started
contact?
Let's see what kind of penalty he gets, because he better get one.
Because, yeah, he just
that's we've
been talking about it all year. Hey, you punch somebody in the right rear going into a corner.
Yep.
You should be paying a visit to pit lane.
I mean,
3 abreast going into the corner, and
well, that's exactly what Briscoe. He tapped Ryan Hunter-Reay, and he got a penalty. So Dario deserves a penalty.
Look behind, and I mean. What can you say? I mean, there's no way.
That says it all.
Yeah.
You don't really have to say anything.
Chip and Roger in contention for the championship. Chip does not look happy.
No. And, of course, Chip makes the calls for Franchitti, and Roger makes the calls for Briscoe. Franchitti is still rolling. Briscoe only just now getting restarted.
Well, a new nose, and they're going to change rubber. Well, almost a 26-second pit stop.
I believe there's Briscoe hitting his pits.
Yeah, so he got refired. They'll check it over carefully.
That's the way the points are broken down.
And you're right, Jan, that was build-up because they didn't change the tires. So as soon as he got running again, he cleaned that off.
At first, it was weird. It looked like they had been shredded.
Yeah.
But it was just you get offline, and that's just all that pickup that builds up on the tires. Right then.
Well,
move
we shall
guys.
see.
Yeah, make a pit stop, move them to the back, and let's try that again. In the meantime, we wait to see if race control thinks that is different than what we saw in Baltimore.
We're in close contact with race control, and so far nothing has been said. They are looking at it as Briscoe catches up to the rear of the field.
Take a look here. Now watch. Franchitti dives to the inside. Clips the right rear of Briscoe, which then he collects Graham Rahal.
And right at this point, when you look at avoidable contact, that means you put your car in a place where you could avoid. And I think looking off the back of Briscoe, you can see that that just wasn't on.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, that were the very same words that we used in Baltimore.
Right.
With Ryan
Hunter-Reay
and Briscoe.
Briscoe, absolutely.
And so it's a very similar situation.
And Briscoe and Hunter-Reay at Barber.
Exactly. Now, the penalty for that contact in both occasions was a drive-through penalty once you go back to green. But first, they would have to make an assessment if they deem that to be avoidable contact. If so, that would be what they have ruled penalty-wise in the past.
There are the points. Dario now trails by 23 as he has dropped back to 23rd position, and Will is still second. Kevin Lee as Graham Rahal will be on pit lane again.
8 motors in. Let's see if they take a look for any issues with the car. Right now, they're just changing all 4 tires. They're putting on the primary black tires. Taking a look at it. Looks like no issues with the car. And Rahal is back out, but he's lost a ton of track position.
And the word apparently is that the 10 car will be penalized for avoidable contact with that little incident and will go to the back of the field.
Well, we'll wait to see, get the confirmation on what the actual penalty. We don't be sure about that one. We heard a communication that was back of the line. That's not the same.
Right. No.
That's not the same as a drive-through under green.
All he's doing is swapping positions with Briscoe. If it's going to be a penalty, he should hit pit lane when the rest of the guys are in green.
We'll wait till we
That's
get.
what the rule book says, right?
Under the steward's discretion. You always have to put in that caveat.
Back of the line is no penalty.
That's not a penalty.
No.
He's already back there.
Yeah, let's just wait and get confirmation before we jump on that.
Are you saying the communication between us and Japan right now is maybe a little bit slow?
Had a few moments this season where we need to be sure things get clarified.
Well, look at the Ganassi team here.
Well, Dario took 3 of them out and 1 in the corner.
That's right. Well, that caution we had
Chip, what's the penalty?
Well, yeah, we had to go to the back of the line there for avoidable contact. I'd say it looked like a pretty ambitious move down there in turn 1.
So that's how you saw it as well. You don't really take issue with this call?
No, I'm just a little disappointed. Took out 3 of my cars. Took out 3 of our 4 cars there. Put 3 of his back. The other 2 guys were having great days. It's just terrible that one of our own, one of their teammates took their 2 guys out. It's terrible.
Thank you. Chip Ganassi.
Wow.
All right, here we go. Let's try this again.
They're 2 by 2 in the first 2 rows, and that's it. Here's the green flag as we go racing once again at Twin Ring Motegi.
Tony Kanaan, you saw him dive into the pits before the restart. He had to do that for fuel.
It's a pretty nice move by Marco. He had a pretty good restart there.
James
picked up a couple
Jakes
spots.
running in 3rd position.
Well,
Serbia actually, isn't it? The scoring says.
Yeah, the scoring says Jakes, but that is not.
Yeah, that's
certainly not how they run.
This is J.R. Hildebrand in 11th.
Now scoring is getting corrected, and of course that was Serbia up there in 3rd.
Right. Jakes 4th.
Whoa, something's.
That's Mike Conway up ahead.
Pisa, I think, was the one that was blew wide a little bit there. 2 cars ahead of Hildebrand.
All right. Well, once this settles down, Wally, I know what you're dying to say. It's the same thing that I'm thinking. How is going to the back of the line?
That's not a penalty.
That's no penalty.
I mean, he's already back there. I think maybe he switched spots with Power. I don't see how that is a penalty.
Yeah, but wow, that is not consistent with what the penalties have been for the exact same incident on other racetracks, and I think they're going to take some heat on that one.
They should.
Absolutely, because that's the driver's biggest complaint with Brian Barnhart, fellas. Inconsistency.
At least if he hit pit lane, then, that's some kind of a penalty because you're losing ground on the rest of the field. But just to go to the back when you're already back there, I don't understand that. What's the point?
Exactly. Well, if you got to come to the pit, even if you have to drive through the pits, you're going to lose 35 seconds.
Right. That's a penalty.
Exactly.
All right, so Serbia clearly in 3rd. Yes, we can confirm Jakes is there, and Marco right behind.
Andretti, who was running back in 10th and 11th, is up to 5th. as we see Takuma Sato, who is in 12th position, just ahead of Danica Patrick. On board with him.
Sato's made up quite a bit of ground since his little excursion as well.
Yep.
Look behind. Oh, that was good timing. Here comes Castro Neves. That's how you get it done in 11. The very last time all those Delaras will be run on a road course, and boy, what a great move by Castro Neves here. That's the way you do it. You size it up, get yourself in perfect position, slide right up to where the driver can't turn in even if she wanted to. That's picture perfect. I was saying when I saw this whole train of Delaras, I was thinking it's the last time they're ever going to run on a road course, and the reason they're running in this kind of train, they've had all these years to perfect these setups, same tires, same engines, and everyone is they're just right at the same speed, and you've got to take a big risk to make a move.
You're right. It's very, very competitive. I think you looked at qualifying what was the second cover of the field, and yeah, you've got to you have to outbrake somebody to pass somebody on a track like this. You've got to go in a little bit deeper to outbrake somebody and still try to keep your car under control. But they are even.
And I'm still assessing this whole Dario Franchitti thing into turn one. When you're running for a championship, that could be a deal breaker right there.
Sure can, yeah.
If it doesn't come through, we're going to replay the tape and say, remember turn one in Motegi Road Course. That is a huge number of points. Now, part of it is it's amazing how things change when you don't qualify well. You start driving and taking more risks than if you did when you qualified up front.
Yeah.
Dario started this race from 9th position, and he is currently in 22nd. Nearing the halfway point here at Motegi, Scott Dixon with a 1.2-second advantage on Will Power. Eyes on IndyCar Series will go to a new chassis and a new engine for next year, and you see some of the comparisons between the engine that they've been using for the last few years and the one they will use in 2012, including an increase in RPMs, and also other changes will be taking effect next year when they go to the new engine. And another thing that isn't on there is the fact that the overtake assist will mean a lot more next year than it has in recent years.
That is yet to be determined, but when you look at that weight, anytime you save 100 pounds or more, that's going to be one of your best performance advantages. You also see carbon brakes as well.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
Yeah, much more modern. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because when you have a lighter car with carbon brakes, they brake for a shorter distance. That sometimes can even make it more difficult to overtake, but they'll definitely be more racy.
All right, Dario Franchitti has moved up a couple of positions in the last lap. He got around Charlie Kimball, and there you see him get around James Hinchcliffe. So Dario moves up to 19th position. Briscoe's back in 22nd. Rahal 23rd. Two of the other drivers involved in that incident.
You know, Jan was saying, this is so uncharacteristic to see Franchitti make a mistake like that. He just doesn't do that. You know, that's not how he drives.
We mentioned the points as they are right now. Power has a 23-point lead on Dario Franchitti, but you'll remember that in 2009, Dario trailed Ryan Briscoe by 25 points with 2 races to go, and Dario won the championship. Down to Kevin.
Brazilian JP de Oliveira into an Indy car here today. And exit for you. A fuel pressure pump issue is what took you out. But before that contact with Takuma Sato, tell us what happened.
Yeah, it was a shame about the fuel pump, the fuel pressure. I just lost fuel pressure, and they told me, yeah, the fuel pump, you know, was broken. But yeah, before that, I had a clear run in Taku, and you know, I didn't think I was too optimistic. I was on the inside already, and he just decided to turn in. So fortunate, you know, these things happen in racing. I think it was possible to avoid, but you know, it's a shame because my race I really wanted to get to the end. But you know, I think with this problem, we probably wouldn't have got it anyway. So, but anyway, I think it was a good first race, and you know, look forward for next time.
Okay, hope to see him again. He is, by the way, won here the 2 years in Formula Nippon. He is in for Sebastian Saavedra, who's been in this 34 Conquest car. Dylan Battistini is going to take his rookie test. He won 3 races a couple of years ago in lights, and he might be in this car when we get to Kentucky.
Interesting. And I know we're going to get letters saying, oh, you pronounced his name wrong because there's an R in there. It should be De Oliveira, but he says De Oliveira, so that's the way we pronounce it.
Bob, don't worry about those letters.
Well,
what are you going to
because I always
about
get
the letters? The heck with those letters.
We are watching Dario Franchitti come up on Hideki Muto. Good to see Hideki back in the series in that Formula 3 machine that he drove so many years for Andretti and Andretti Autosport and Andretti Green Racing.
He's feeling the pressure, and this is the place where if you're going to make a move, and Dario's done it on other drivers, so I don't think he's close enough. Oh, Hideki, you're not supposed to do that. Oh, but he was he was just taking a look at Pontonos.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
We're past the halfway point, and Scott Dixon has secured the 2 points for leading the most laps, and that means that he has won all bonus points available
There
for
he
his
comes.
race. Easy this time.
See ya.
Just have half a second longer on the throttle.
Wow, what a group of cars he's got to work on now.
Up ahead now is Pontano and Mira.
They get harder and harder each as he moves up. I think once he gets up to about the 13th, 14th spot where Castroneves is, it's going to be very hard.
Well, he's staying with it. That's what you got to do. You have to fight back in the very same spot where he had contact. He did that exactly the way you're supposed to. Much different line. He's going for
comes up
he's going for a little high line, fast off technique. See if that pays off for him.
Here he comes again. Oh, Pontano wouldn't let him have it.
Franchitti really had to jump on the brakes to avoid contact there.
And they both went for the overtake. Franchitti went for it to try to overtake, and Pontano went for it to keep him from overtaking. So it was used offensively and defensively, and Pontano said, no thanks. Now, Pontano has learned, see, he held his line. Remember, he got a big penalty in Sonoma, and, you know, that was his corner. He did the right thing. Dario wasn't in position. Dario was trying. Pontano didn't block and turned in aggressively, and that's his right to do so.
I think we're going to call him Pontano here in a minute because I think old Dario is going to kick him to the sand trap.
And Dario Franchitti was just told about 3 laps ago, we need to get one car, pick off one car every other lap. Should be simple, right?
Well, Pontano just got off the track and Dario passed him. Oh, wow. Now Hideki Muto wants to get by Giorgio. So now Dario sets his sights on Vitor Meira.
Well, that's a way to do it through the field. We'll just follow Dario.
Yeah, as he's passing cars.
Man, Pontano has got a major flat spot now to where every time he just touches the brakes, the thing just lights up. I think he gets a sitting duck here.
Take a look here. He's going to give it a shot. Ooh, they both went in pretty deep.
Wow. He gave him a little room.
Tell you, Pontano's not leaving anything on the table.
No.
He is. It continues to lock up, and there he goes.
Yeah, he goes.
Off again.
Say, he just every time he goes in the corner, he locks that tire up. Finally caught him out.
Yeah.
This is his third race, replacing the injured Justin Wilson. Had a 17th place finish at Infineon and a 26th at Baltimore, and there he goes.
And that sound, Wally, when you go through that gravel, is just, it's not a good sound.
And again, that gravel gets in places you don't want.
Yeah.
Don't look at me like that, Bob.
Where does it come from?
See, I'm thinking brake calipers, and I know, Bob, you were thinking something totally different.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, yeah, you were.
He gave me that look. I'm like, use your imagination.
Scott Dixon leads Will Power, Oriol Servia, James Jakes, and Marco Andretti. "39 laps have been completed out of 63 here at Twin Ring Motegi. As we watch Oriol Servia running in third position. Right behind him is James Jakes and then Marco Andretti. Now, Dario Franchitti has worked his way up to 17th position, but here's what happened on a restart.
We're barreling down on the inside, made contact with Briscoe, who collected Kimball.
And Graham Rahal.
I'm sorry, Rahal, yeah. And these guys paid for it.
That's Kimball to the right of the screen. And that move that certainly seems incredibly optimistic for a guy who's trying to win a championship. And Wally, the amazing thing to me is that when we talked to Chip Ganassi afterwards, was very, very interesting to me when he was talking to Kevin. Normally, a team owner will stick by his driver no matter what happens. He said, you know, I'm not happy about that. That took out 3 of my cars. That was Kimball, Ray Hall, and, of course, Franchitti. And even he said, I thought that was an awfully optimistic move, and you don't normally hear that when it's your own driver and you're talking to the owner on the timing stand.
Absolutely, and you make a mistake this close to running at Vegas for the championship. I mean, if I'm Power right now, I'm riding. I mean, if somebody told me Franchitti's back there and he's in traffic, sitting in 17th spot, I'm just going to be real happy following Dixon for the rest of this race.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you don't want any more gravel in the...
No more gravel. Very uncomfortable.
Let's not go there again. The World Championship at Las Vegas. Boy, it can't get any better than this. To purchase your tickets, you call 800-644-4444 or log on to lvms.com. If you have attended one IZOD IndyCar Series event this year, you pick up a free ticket at Mandalay Bay. If you book your hotel at MGM Resorts, you get 2 free tickets. That is where the IndyCar Championship will be decided this year. And that's just 2 races from now. We have the next race, meeting us at Versus, will be at Kentucky in the 1.5 miles there in 2 weeks. Scott Dixon has 9 road course wins in his career. 4 of those 9 wins have come when he has led the most laps, and he has led all but 1 lap today.
Yeah, these 2 front cars right now are the class of the field. They are clicking off some lap times right now.
And Franchitti has moved up another, getting by Vitor Meira, so Dario is up to 16th position. And with each position he gains, the points come off. It's now a 21-point advantage for Will Power, who is running in 2nd position. Our congratulations to Sarah Fisher and Andy O'Gara as they celebrate the birth of 6-pound, 7-ounce Zoe Marie. And Sarah Fisher becomes the only Indianapolis 500 starter to give birth to a baby. Another way in the record books for Sarah Fisher. Congratulations, you guys.
Although we do have a couple owners that look like they're ready to give birth. That's not really probably a nice thing to say, but it's early in the morning, and hell, we don't care.
And we're a little punchy.
Yeah, we don't care. I would tell Sarah, don't get your daughter a golf, don't get her a go-kart or a quarter midget, get her a tennis racket and a golf club.
Now, changing gears here, this is when the pit window opens. So if you're someone like these 2 leaders, you don't necessarily want to stretch it. You want to, if you're Power, I say you play it safe and you pit. You want to be the first person to make the last stop. You don't want to get caught by a yellow.
They've got 14 seconds on 3rd spot.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Just come in, make sure you don't get caught by a yellow. And just get it done. You'll be good to go till the end of the race. Now, they don't have to stop now. They could go all the way to lap 47 if you really wanted to, but that's awfully risky.
I think if I was Power, I'd try to get in before Dixon, get those reds on. Maybe get a little bit of an advantage.
True. Typically, though, if you stay out longer, it benefits you, but you run the risk of catching a caution. And, of course, that's not in your control. And, you know, Will Power has been bit quite a few times this year on things out of his control, like untimely yellows. I guess you could say, well, it's in your control because you didn't take a pit stop. But
just like at Toronto, this was the scenario. These guys are running 1-2, kicking everybody's butt.
And here's some people that are going to take advantage of it, Kevin.
A couple of leaders, including Oriol Servia, shouldn't be that surprised that he's worked his way up from 16th to 3rd. He said, I just made a mistake in qualifying yesterday, but the car has been good all weekend. Servia is going to get out ahead of James Jakes. Jakes is pitted in front of him. He's had a great day today, running in the 4th position. He felt confident he would be good coming in because this is a track where he's on level playing field. It's a slower stop, though, for James Jakes. He lost a little time coming out.
Yeah, James Jakes lost all kinds of time. I think James Jakes is actually behind Franchitti now, and he came in 4th. Wow. Huge loss of time for Jakes.
It's too bad. He was running 4th and looking really good.
Man.
Behind Dario, in front of Simona De Silvestro.
And James Jake stopped it. That's what happened. So he has a great opportunity to good result. He's still got a chance at a good result, but his chance at a great result has probably gone away.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, that can happen. Sometimes you... Not that. Oh!
We all did the same thing.
That was the best. He totally missed the corner, Wally.
That was the best.
Good thing the pit lane was there.
We're up now.
Here's Will Power making what should be his final stop of the day.
And this is a wise choice. Don't get caught by a yellow. Come in and play it safe. Oh, and he came close to stalling it. He had to go for the clutch there. Wow.
Here's Scott still on track. We'll see if he makes his stop this time by.
And he's doing the right thing for a guy who doesn't have a whole lot to lose. Stay out there, get a nice gap. He could probably stop now and still be good. But who knows? He's, like I said, he could go to 47 if he really wanted to.
You're right, though, Jan. He's almost 18 seconds ahead of Marco in second. So.
Yep. Less than 20 laps to go.
I think White Castle's open, Bob. we can go there afterwards.
Okay. You're buying, I assume.
Yes. White Castle is a nasty hamburger that people that are drunk eat at 3 in the morning.
I'm not drunk.
No, I know. We're punch drunk.
Oh, okay.
It's an expression.
Here he is. Dixon on pit lane. Kevin.
Here comes Scott Dixon, 60 miles per hour. Huge pit stop for him. We'll be trying to keep an eye on where Will Power comes out as he merges back into traffic. And the right-of-way goes to the car that's on track, by the way. That's a tight exit going into turn number 1. Red tires for Dixon on his final stop. He's away. Let's see where he comes out.
There comes Power. Now
they're going to be separated by just about the same amount, aren't they?
They'll be closer towards the exit, but very nicely done by Target Chip Ganassi Racing and Scott Dixon. That's what they want. Now he just needs to bring it home.
So will Dixon be able to hang on and keep Will behind him? We'll come back with more from twin Ring Motegi. College football continues on Versus next Saturday at 7:30 when the 11th-ranked Cornhuskers head west to take on the Cowboys. It's Nebraska against Wyoming. College football on Versus. Every game means everything. On board with Will Power here as he runs in second position. Up ahead is Scott Dixon. Last time they came by, it was just about a 2-second interval. Ray Hall is running third. Tony Kanaan is fourth, and Marco Andretti is fifth. However, Kanaan is going to have a pit stop before too long.
As is Graham Rahal.
Tony Kanaan started way back in 25th position. Here comes Graham Rahal in.
Rahal probably feels like a punching bag this year.
Let me tell you something. He's qualified so well and he's had 2 podiums, but he really has not got the results he deserves through no fault of his own.
Tony Kanaan also makes his final pit stop, puts on the alternate reds. Kanaan is the only driver to compete in all 14 IndyCar races here at Motegi.
And that should complete the pit stops, at least for top 20. And sort everybody out.
Scott Dixon won the race from the pole here in 2009. He continued his streak of having a winning a race in 7 straight seasons when he won at Mid-Ohio earlier this year.
And this is very similar to Mid-Ohio. This is a pure dominant performance, just like he did. I mean, he has not finished that yet, of course. It's not over till it's over, but at this point he has been certainly the class of the field every time out.
Keeping track of Dario Franchitti is currently 13th, so the interval is 18 points. Will over Franchitti, but Dixon just 59 back. Understand that Tony Kanaan is going to get a drive-through penalty for speeding on pit lane.
Which is a drive-through.
Which
right?
is,
yep. So he's speeding in a drive-through. That's a worse penalty than some other people have gotten for taking other guys out today.
That would be correct.
Just want to be clear.
Yep. And speeding in pit lane makes me almost as mad as drivers saying they're saving fuel, because when your dad drove and when, I mean, Lloyd Ruby used to go in the pits 160 miles an hour and not hit anybody. This is a race. Okay. Be nice.
Coming to the start-finish line this time, they will complete the 48th lap. So 15 will remain in this race. And these guys are running about 17 seconds ahead of the third-place car, which at the moment is Marco Andretti. There's the completion of lap number 48. We're on lap number 49 of 63. Stay with us for more live coverage here at Twin Ring Motegi. Scott Dixon, the leader. Fan support here at this race, the final one at Twin Ring Motegi, has been unbelievable. Of course, the earthquake that hit in this country was on March the 11th, a 9.0 earthquake. More than 20,000 people were killed or are still missing. More than 800,000 homes were destroyed or damaged. The Japanese Red Cross estimates 400,000 were displaced. This race this weekend is the first international event since the earthquake, and the people of Japan have been very supportive of this race. And I think it's also important to point out that this shows that it is safe to return to Japan and to visit there. That's one thing that Randy Bernard wants to make us aware of, everybody aware of, and I'm sure the Japanese people also.
Just looking at the board here, guys. I mean, there's some guys that having some good runs here. You got tags up there, Bourdais, Conway. He started way in the back. Hunter Ray is up there.
Here's Ryan Briscoe. He's 19th. Up ahead is Vitor Mira. James Jakes, we mentioned him with the bad pit stop, was running 4th. He now is 16th. Danica Patrick 14th, and Dario Franchitti is 13th and hasn't moved from that spot in the last few laps. Again, we are not in control of the pictures that you are seeing. That's from the host Japanese broadcaster.
Here we go. Here's a pile of them. Here's the group that you were talking about, and those are some new names followed by some championship contenders. Of course, Dario Franchitti bringing up the rear here, and he'll have a tough time trying to get by somebody like Castro Neves. But what a train this is.
Castro Neves right ahead of Franchitti, and then Hildebrand. Sato is in this group, so is Hunter Ray, Viso.
And this group of cars has pretty much been running, with the exception of Franchitti, they've been running like this the whole race.
Yeah.
About 9, 10, 11 cars have been nose to tail.
And when you look at Marco Andretti, if we get a shot of him, he's leading that train. And for Marco, if you consider where he is based on his teammates, there's Ryan Hunter-Reay, one of his teammates. He's the next closest. And remember, that was one of the great questions that Lindy Thaxton had asked. We had talked about when they were in Baltimore. He couldn't just run the same kind of times as his teammates. Now you come to a road course and it completely flip-flops. So Marco Andretti now is leading his group of teammates and solidly doing so. And it's only a couple weeks difference.
Yep. Running in 3rd spot.
This is Hildebrand looking back on Castro Neves.
Serbia, Tagliani.
Serbia is there in 4th position. Tagliani's had a good race. So has Sebastian Bourdais. Bourdais started 14th, currently running 6th.
Now, one of the drivers you mentioned there, Bob, you know, this is a holiday weekend in Japan, and it's called Respect for the Aged Day. So I know.
Why are you looking at me while you say that, Jan?
Well, speaking of aged, what's the most aged driver in this group here? What's the most, you know? You saw him a moment ago. It might surprise you. The oldest driver in the series. Franchitti is close, but it's not Franchitti. It's Alex Tagliani.
I was going to say that.
Alex Tagliani, 38 years old. Dario Franchitti.
Wow. That was close.
Dario Franchitti, also 38, but he's beat by a few months by Mr. Tagliani. He does not look 38.
No, you're right.
I would not have guessed he was the oldest guy here. But we'll show respect for him and for you, Bob.
I knew we'd get back there.
I think that's a good holiday to have. I like that, respect for the aged.
We should have one of those in the U.S.
Yeah,
we'll start that next year. Yeah. How's that? Less than 10 laps to go at Twin Ring Motegi. Stay with us for the exciting conclusion of this race led by Scott Dixon. Welcome back to our live coverage here on Versus of the Indy Japan 300 final race at Twin Ring Motegi. Watching this long string of cars here that includes Andretti, Servia, Tagliani, Bourdais, Conway, Viso, Hunter-Reay, Sato, Hildebrand, and Castro Neves. That is 3rd through 12th.
Wow.
Sebastian Bourdais may have another top 10 finish going here. Prior to Baltimore, when he had electrical problems, he had recorded 3 top 10 finishes, including a 6th at Toronto and Edmonton. And that's where he is running here right now. More from Kevin Lee.
And this will be the last time we see Sebastian Bourdais this season. He goes back to his other job, driving in the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup. He drives for Peugeot. He just won with Simon Pagenaud a couple of weeks ago. They are leading that championship with 2 rounds remaining. It's been a strong season for Bourdais. He's hoping to come back here full time next season, but only if the situation is right.
This is Sebastian's first start here at this racetrack.
And look, it's Ryan Hunter-Reay keeps dropping wheels off on the final corner. Sato here is basically is getting fogged. I mean, the car just keeps getting dustier and dustier because as Hunter-Reay goes off, he goes off himself. Whoa.
You know, Kevin was talking about Bourdais and Pagenaud. They both want to run IndyCar full-time next year, but Peugeot's putting the heat on them to sign a deal to run for them next year, so they can't wait too long. And then, you know, Ryan Briscoe's another guy. He's kind of in the hot seat, it looks like, because if Penske doesn't come up with a sponsor, he might be out. And, you know, he's one of the fastest guys in the series, but he could be outside looking in.
Yep. Article in the Indianapolis paper a couple of days ago saying that his return to Team Penske at this moment is, quote, questionable.
Yeah, Wayne Taylor's one of his agents and was telling us at Sonoma, you know, we got to have a sponsor or maybe have to find him a ride.
Two of the KB Racing Technology cars in this group. EJ Viso is 8th and Sato is 10th.
Tony Kanaan, of course, is 25th. Having a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pits will definitely not help your track position. Oh, whoa,
wow,
look out. That's Bourdais rubbing on Conway.
Wow.
And here comes Viso up the inside.
Viso's going to pass both of them, or is he?
Maybe.
Look at Conway drive down in there.
Yeah. That's what we've been waiting for. Way to go, EJ. He just got 2 spots.
Ryan Hunter-Reay looks to the inside of Conway.
Oh, he had to bail, and Conway goes off the outside.
He loses a couple of spots. Now Hildebrand looks to go around, and he will.
And
so
Castro
Conway,
Neves.
Conway losing a lot of positions here.
Well, I'm sure Conway had all that dirt on his tires. It's going to take him a few corners to get that cleaned off.
Looking from Sato.
Tell you what, Conway ran out of room.
Yeah.
Because Hunter-Reay was right there, and Conway just had to turn right because he was just out of real estate.
And here's the 3 wide into turn 1. And nicely done in close quarters. EJ Viso getting 2 spots out of that. And of course that's what lost the momentum for Conway that made him a sitting duck, unfortunately, for his teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay.
We get another break before the checkered flag here with 7 laps to go. It's Dixon by 5.5 seconds over Will Power. Some good racing going on here in the middle of the pack. It isn't much of a race up front because Dixon continues to stretch out his lead on Will Power, and Ryan Hunter-Reay is in the sand.
Keep it running.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to. If not, we may have a full course caution here with just a few laps to go.
Robbins applauding.
And the crowd loves it.
The crowd of one.
Yeah. Ryan Hunter-Reay was running up in that group
just went yellow.
Yep. How about that?
Well, there goes the 25-second or 21-second deficit between Power and Marco Andretti.
Yep.
That'll close that up. That'll be interesting.
There is Ryan Hunter-Reay's stalled car in the sand trap. It's our third caution we have had today. Takuma Sato currently running in 7th position. Here's how Ryan Hunter-Reay got off course.
Oh, my.
Bourdais.
Uh-oh.
Guess he'll be losing a lot of positions over that.
Yes, he will.
Bourdais, I'm talking about.
Yep.
Quite a hit there from Sebastian Bourdais. From our overhead helicopter. Whoa!
Well, he was farther alongside than Dario.
That's a different, with that angle, Bourdais was,
he gave him an
like you said, he was up there pretty far.
Of course, the gravel trap, the idea of a gravel trap is to stop a car that would lose brakes or something, and it's supposed to stop a car and get stuck, so it did its job. And that was pretty much exactly as the teams told us. If you went through the gravel and kept it straight and drove off nose first, you might get out the other side, which we saw many an example today. But if you backed in, you'd get stuck, and
that's what happened.
There's the evidence right there.
Momentum is your friend in the sand.
Gravel traps, as a rule, though, are great compared to the old days of like catch fencing and stuff. Oh, that was nasty.
Or even if you went off in the grass, you'd pick up speed.
Yeah,
or felt like it anyway.
Question is, how many laps are we going to run under caution here, and how many laps will we have under green to see if we can get some position changes here before the end of the race?
Cautions breed cautions, too.
That's true. But they will run 63 laps. That's the good news.
And it is a nearly 3-mile road course. One would think it shouldn't take too long. However, the previous yellow was very, very long. So let's hope that that's not the case this time.
Brought out the sweepers to get off the marbles from the racing surface to provide a clean racetrack for the drivers on the restart. But there are only 4 laps to go.
Trucks going the other way.
Yeah.
I think maybe they should restart the race with the sweepers on the track, just to shake things out. Look, we did it at Baltimore. We had trucks on the track. Let's try the sweepers. I guarantee you, they'd watch the replay.
Views expressed on these shows are not necessarily those of the network or network advertisers.
Great to see so many of the Japanese race fans that have come to the race here. The final one. It's about 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon in Japan and just a little before 2 a.m. Eastern time in the United States. A warm day, obviously, with the fans fanning.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the last restart, did not Scott Dixon, looks like, chose drivers left when they came up to take the green? I'm trying to think back now. I believe he may have chosen the clean side of the racetrack, which is typically not what you want, but that worked well for him last time around. That's the idea of the sweepers out there on the dirty side where all the rubber is, and he's chosen last time to go drivers left, and it just blew by everybody.
And they barely had 2 rows lined up, I think, when they got to the start-finish line.
And there's Scott Dixon. That's what he's doing, is cleaning. And you can see, look how much rubber he leaves behind when you do that. And that is the enemy of any kind of restart, is having that pickup on the tires. And we had a great example of that onboard shot earlier from Briscoe of how you can pick up rubber on their tires. Okay, so yep, sure enough, he had chosen the outside. He's on the clean part of the racetrack and sweeps around to the outside cleanly in front of Power.
That's a good move if you can get a good start. You know, if you can jump,
here we go.
If you can jump them and clear them.
We will have 3 laps of racing, hopefully.
Power needs to stay right up beside him.
Yes, he does. He's got to get up right there. Look, he's going to take off.
He's just going to lay back.
What's he doing?
Marco's not going to lay back.
Oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, somebody's going to pile into somebody at the back.
No start.
What was that all about? Scott Dixon was doing what he was supposed to, but Will was hanging back.
Yep. Now there's only going to be 2 laps to go.
It was like Will didn't expect him to go green.
Don't count Marco completely out of this deal.
Oh no!
I'll tell you what, he's been making some great restarts, and I think he's standing up in that seat right now.
Okay, now see, Dixon does exactly what he's supposed to. He goes to the outside. He doesn't gas it. He's just cruising. He's waiting, and Will Power just doesn't come into position. Look, Dixon's waiting. Look at Tagliani. He's like, I'll just go around everybody.
You're not going to go? I will.
I'm not sure what Power was doing there. He must not have known it was going to go green. And now we're being told there will be no penalty on Sebastian Bourdais for that contact on Ryan Hunter-Reay. And what do you think Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to say? He's going to say, isn't that exactly the same thing that I did to Briscoe in Barber and got a penalty?
Yep.
Man, there's going to be some discussions on the way back on the airplane on this one.
Yeah.
Well. It's never over till it's over.
Sure, I think, like I said, Andretti and Tags are going to be chomping at the bit here. Power can't leave that door open.
There's still 25 of the 26 cars still running as we get set for this restart with 2 laps to go.
And, you know, in a way, I think they should have thrown the green because the pole sitter was doing what he was supposed to. If the guy in second place isn't paying attention, you know what I mean?
Yep, no,
absolutely.
Now, here we go.
Yeah, he'll move up.
Watch Marco. He's going to make it 3 wide.
Watch Viso.
Man. Here we go. Let's see what happens in turn 1. Contact back here
between the teammates.
No, you can't. You got to be kidding me.
Teammates.
Oh, but Sato's still going.
Keep going. Oh. Keep going. Keep the engine running.
And Ryan Briscoe is off course.
And here comes Marco. Somehow Servia had got past Marco, and now Marco came back.
Is Viso stalled on the racetrack? Vitor Mir is also in the sand.
Uh-oh.
But this could be local yellows only.
I don't know, Bob. Well,
with 1 lap to go?
Yeah. Let's hope that's the case, because they won't have time to clean it up.
Marco Andretti running in 3rd spot.
And it looked like Servia had that for a couple of corners, and then Servia now has dropped back. Tagliani moves up a spot.
And that helped Franchitti because he picked up probably 3 or 4 spots in this last lap with guys going off the racetrack.
He sure
3
did.
spots.
Good point. He's up to 9th.
Local only in turns 1 and 3, so we will not have a full course caution. They'll race to the checkered flag, but I don't think Scott Dixon is going to be challenged.
Man, he's running away.
Power trying his best to catch up. But the white flag comes out. One more lap on the 2.9-mile road course here at Twin Ring Motegi.
Danica Patrick just got off the outside of the final corner. Bourdais charging after Servia. Servia in blue right behind. It's Bourdais pushing hard. Can't pass here. Somebody saw. Was
Castro Neves.
Castro Neves. Man,
trying to get around Hildebrand.
He's going to get. Well, if he
completed it.
If he completed it, he'll definitely be in trouble.
It looks like he did.
Yeah.
An easy drive all day long for Scott Dixon, all weekend long for that matter, winning the pole position, leading the most laps, and a few corners away from taking the victory. Difference in points now 13 as Franchitti moves up to 9th. Will Power second.
They're going to finish where they started. How about that after all that?
Good point. Here comes Scott Dixon through the final few corners. And the final race at Twin Ring Motegi is going to go to Scott Dixon, his 27th career win, second of the season. He also won at Mid-Ohio. It's his 10th career win on a road course. Power finishes 3.5 seconds behind in second, then Marco Andretti, Alex Tagliani, Servia, Bourdais, Castro Neves, Hildebrand, Franchitti, and Conway are the top 10, and Takuma Sato came close to a top 10 finish but settled for 11th as Danica Patrick comes in 12th position. Here's Kevin.
Mike Holcall's strategy for Scott Dixon. He's talking to his driver, pointing him towards victory lane. That was an impressive drive today.
Well, first of all, we really don't know where victory lane is here since we've gone from an oval to a road track. We were talking about that, trying to figure that out.
I think it's about right here. I think it's in front of your pit. At least that's what I believe. What was the key today for your guy, especially in those final restarts?
Well, I think the just being solid, just being aware of what's going on, being smart about how to drive the restarts, and just not getting caught up in everybody else's problems today. And obviously that's being the master of the obvious. That's what you try to do when you race, but we did a good job. But, you know, racing in Japan means a lot to us in Honda. We'd love to come back here. It's a big deal, and we understand how much these people love motor racing, and it's good to be here.
And a good day for Target Chip Ganassi, at least the number 9 team today. They get to celebrate, headed to our makeshift victory lane.
Scott Dixon wins the battle here at Twin Ring Motegi, but Will Power comes away with the Mario Andretti Road Course Championship by 32 over Dario.
The Indy Japan 300 on Versus is brought to you by Honda, the engine supplier for the IZOD IndyCar Series.
Welcome back to Motegi, Japan, and my call may have been right. Scott Dixon is still on the racetrack driving around. He may not know where victory lane is, but he has won here this afternoon at this facility. Scott Dixon, his second win of the year.
What's the penalty for missing
victory lane?
Victory lane.
You don't get to kiss the queen.
The penalty is you got to pose with Chip.
Will Power finishing 3.5 seconds behind Dixon. Marco Andretti with a very good run here this afternoon, winning in third position, finishing in third position. Alex Tagliani fourth, Oriol Servia fifth, then Bourdais. Castro Neves recovered from his off course. J.R. Hildebrand was eighth, Dario Franchitti ninth, and Mike Conway in 10th position. Here's 11 through 20 with Takuma Sato, the home country favorite, finishing in 11th position. Tony Kanaan winds up in 18th spot after starting 25th, and there were only 2 cars out of the race when it ended, with Vitor Meira dropping out with just 2 laps to go, and Ryan Hunter-Reay a lap down. Everybody else was on the lead lap. We had 3 caution periods for a total of 8 laps, 2 leaders, 2 lead changes. Dixon led all but 1 lap. Will Power led 1 lap, but that was when they had their first series of pit stops. On the second pit sequence, Scott Dixon was able to maintain his lead. So the points battle has changed positions, as Power now will go to Kentucky with a 13-point lead on Franchitti. Dixon, Servia, Kanaan, and Briscoe stay the same. Marco Andretti moves up a spot as a result of his third-place finish. Ryan Hunter-Reay down a position, and Elio and Graham stayed in their positions in 9th and 10th. Kevin?
Chip Ganassi, your team salvages something here today. I know you weren't happy with what happened early, but your guy Scott Dixon at least kept Will Power from picking up some more points in the championship.
I mean, it's huge. Dixon had a great day, did everything he possibly could for the team target. And it's, you know, it's obviously going to be some tough conversations. I mean, Dario, we said, you know, before the race, drive like a champion. And, you know, that moved down in turn 1. Obviously, I wasn't driving the car, but, you know, he took out 2 of our other cars. Very, very disappointing. And, you know, I'm sure he didn't do it purposely, but I got to have some tough conversations with a lot of people that, you know, we had a good day going there up until that point. And, it's very, very, very disappointing. So it's good news and bad news all on the same day.
For a guy that's been so good for you and has been so consistent over the years, what do you say? How do you address that with a champion like Franchitti?
Well, he's obviously still a champion, and he's still a great driver. I mean, he just wasn't his day, I guess.
Okay, Chip Ganassi, though, waiting, and the car is here. So we'll talk to Scott Dixon here coming up in just a moment in Victory Lane. We're also going to try to hear from Will Power and Dario Franchitti. Scott Dixon on top of the number 9 target car here at Twin Ring Motegi. He becomes the first to win on the oval and the road course in any motorsport here. Congratulations, you started out front and you stayed there. How did you get it done?
The car, you know, I got to give a lot of credit to Team Target. They gave me a fantastic car, you know, and some sections of the race it was, you know, sort of just cruising, trying to save fuel. The Firestone tires lasted brilliantly for my car, maybe not for some of the others, but it was fantastic. But huge credit to the team, you know, great pit stops, great fuel strategy, everything was flawless, and that's what we needed to get.
You started the race drivers right, and then you went drivers left on the restarts. Why, and how challenging were the restarts with Power?
Yeah, he was definitely more difficult towards the end. Will picked it up, and actually on the aborted restart, he tried to hang back and get a bit of a run. So luckily enough, they weighed that off because he might have had enough momentum to get by. But it was so dirty on the inside. Just the debris from coming off turn 14 and always, you know, all the way down the front straight with the soft red tires. There was a lot of stuff there. The last one was the most nerve-wracking one. They seemed to sweep that off a bit. But I've got to say hi to my family at home, Emma, Poppy, and Tilly, and everybody, my mum. You know, I'm just happy that we had a fantastic weekend to be so far away, but I'm just so happy for the team.
And he's a dad for the second time. Tilly was born just a few days ago, and they're back watching in Indianapolis along with Poppy and Mama Emma.
Yeah, the newest arrival arrived 1 week ago, so congratulations to Scott and Emma. All right, let's find out who has been named the Firestone Pit Performers. Well, that honor goes to the Will Power team, spending a total of 53.647 seconds on pit lane as the crew got him in and out quicker than any other driver. However, it wasn't quite enough to pull off the victory as he finishes second to Scott Dixon. We mentioned the Mario Andretti Road Course Championship. That has now been decided because the final 2 races will be on ovals, and Will Power emerges as the winner of the Mario Andretti Trophy. Dario 32 behind at the conclusion. Dixon third, Serbia and Kanan in the top 5. So Will Power emerges as the champion of that particular division. And now I'm sure he's looking forward to the next 2 races to see if he can maintain this points lead overall, Kevin.
I'll bring him back. Yeah. Well, we started where we finished. How was your day today? Did you have any opportunities to force the issue and try to get by him?
No, I think the only opportunity was one of the restarts. You know, we raced pretty hard down the 1. Obviously, that was for the win, so we both pushed pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, Scott was just solid all day. You know, the team and the driver did a perfect job, and you know, we tried to do the same. We just, you know, I sort of kicked myself for that qualifying lap yesterday where I just made a little mistake, but you know, have to thank Verizon and Maya. You know, it's a great day because, you know, we gained more points on Dario, and you know, we can't be disappointed with second.
What happened on the aborted restart with a few laps to go?
I don't know. I mean, I was saying that I wasn't close enough to him, but yeah, I might have had a run on him, I guess.
You're 13 up now in the championship, so you want to get to victory lane, but all things considered, pretty close to mission accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you know, we'd love to win every time, and at no point during the race was I settling for second. I was doing everything I could. I was doing everything I could on the restarts. You know, but that's as good as we can get, man. We get Verizon car second today and win the championship. That's perfect.
You do take home a trophy today. You win the Mario Andretti Road Championship for the 2nd year in a row. What's that mean? Yeah,
I mean, it's a real honor to win a, you know, the award with Mario's name on it. You know, to me, he was the ultimate driver. Even still, you know, at his age, he still gets out there and wrings the car's neck. So, yeah, very good to accomplish that, but we really want the big one.
All right, thanks. Good run for Will Power. He's now your championship leader.
And the A.J. Foy Trophy for best performance on ovals this year, of course, will be decided after the race in Las Vegas. More when we return.
Takuma Sato with a good run until some late contact. He still gets an 11th place finish visiting with his fans here at Twin Ring Motegi, where Scott Dixon has won. Will Power finishes 2nd. He takes over the championship lead. Dario Franchitti finishes where he started in 9th position. The story of your race was the contact with Ryan Briscoe. You got penalized for that. How did you see it take place?
No, rightly so on the penalty. It's a stupid move on my part. You know, on the restart there, I saw what I thought was a gap. I went down the inside, and the gap closed quickly. So, my mistake, really. You know, if I was to do that again, I would definitely not make that move. I'd done a lot of the hard work getting from 9th to up to 5th or 4th or something, and basically just screwed it up. You know, and what's worse is you know, I've apologized to Ryan already. He put it very succinctly. You know, you had more to lose than I did, and he was absolutely right. But I got to apologise to Charlie and Graham as well. I ruined 2 of my teammates' days, and they've been nothing but helpful. So, yeah, pissed off for that. And you know, great fight back by the target team, though. Came back from 20-something back up to 9th there. Could have been a lot worse today, but should have been a lot better. And I hold my hand up to that one. And if we won this championship, I'm going to have to stop making mistakes.
Have you talked with Chip yet?
Oh, yeah, I spoke to Chip, and I just apologized to him, too. So, you know, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but I shouldn't have made that one today. That was a stupid one.
13 down. It's a position you have not been in all season. You go to 2 ovals. You have not won there, but you've always been good on ovals. What's the approach going into these final 2?
Oh, we should have been good on road courses too, but we haven't quite got it together. So, yeah, we've trailed before, we've led before. We'll just go out there and give it our best. That's all we can do. I mean, my teammate Scott Dixon did a fantastic job at Mid-Ohio and here today. Fabulous. So, over the winter, I've got to figure out what he's doing on these road courses with this new style of Firestone tire and get my stuff together, because you know, he has been very, very good. So, yeah, we're testing Kentucky on Thursday, and We'll shrug this one off and go forward and see if we can, you know, do better next week.
Okay, thank you. Dario Franchitti now chasing Will Power in the championship.
Well, you got to give it to him.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, he took it like a man on that one. And I mean, he did a great job getting back up the ninth. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that had problems in front of him as well, but
Tagliani ties his best finish of the year, 4th at Texas Bourdais, his 4th sixth-place finish in the last 6 races, and Hildebrand equals his best road course finish, and 8th at Toronto. Takuma Sato finishing in 11th position. Okay, the points battle changes. 2 races to go, both on mile-and-a-half ovals. Who, in your opinion, has the advantage in these last 2 races of winning the championship? Jan, you go first.
I think that Franchitti will outrun Power on the ovals, but I think with a 13-point advantage, it may be a little too much, too little, too late.
I think he had the advantage when you go into the last 2 races in the points lead. So I think Power may just pull it off here.
Robin? I just think Ganassi's so superior on the ovals this year, and Franchitti, he you know, it's like he just kind of is like, I got 2 races to go. I've done it before, and he's going to be grinding. It's going to be tough to beat Franchitti.
As was the case last year when he was in the championship points battle. Well, we don't have to wait long to find out who wins this championship. It'll be over before you know it. We will be on in 2 weeks with that next to the last race at Kentucky Speedway, the mile-and-a-half oval there. Thanks for joining us here today at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Be sure to join us in 2 weeks, Sunday, October 2nd from Kentucky Speedway. Coverage begins with a Firestone Indy Light Series, followed by the Kentucky Indy 300 at 2 Eastern. IZOD, the official apparel of the IZOD IndyCar Series, available at Macy's. For more information on the IZOD IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Scott Dixon, winner of the Indy Japan 300. For Jan Bikas, Wally Dallenbach, Kevin Lee, and Robin Miller, I'm Bob Jenkins. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Kentucky Speedway, 2 Eastern.
The IZOD IndyCar Series, presented by the NBC Sports Group.